the keys.
What I do now?
Give me the keys.
What in the world I just... What?
You better give me a good reason right now.
I don't know.
Step out the vehicle. Retarded. Let go of your hand. Step up in there. Retarded.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't...
Put your legs in. You done earned your trip to jail. Do you have mental issues? Or you have dementia?
What's going on, everybody? In today's video features Deputy, or former Deputy, I should say, Jason Johnson of the Hempstead County Sheriff's Department in Arkansas. You have to be like me watching this video thinking to yourself how any cop could treat an 81-year-old innocent man like this. Well, I've done some digging and found out exactly why police and sheriff's department employees are behaving like this on the job. And it's not the first time, especially not with an elderly person.
Arkansas State Police are investigating the death of an inmate at the Hempstead County Detention Center. According to Sheriff James Singleton, the inmate was found unresponsive in his cell shortly after 4 p.m. on Friday. Detention officers and EMS attempted life-saving measures, but the inmate was pronounced dead around 5 p.m. The inmate has been identified as 78-year-old Coy Claiborne.
We're reviewing the video and we're reviewing our detention officers, make sure they follow proper policy and procedures, and if not, then they will face consequences.
What kind of consequences are we talking about? And why is this problem so widespread? The answer is actually very simple. You get what you pay for. Maybe that analogy is counterproductive because I know a lot of you out there is like, any dime spent on a cop is not worth what I paid for it. But for conversation's sake, call the Hempstead Sheriff's Department the revolving door of law enforcement. And your question is, why do cops run to get away from this department? Why do they have so many shortages? And why do all the other departments and police stations in the area pick up their leftovers?
It is a challenging job, and officers should be compensated for it. That's what one Southwest Arkansas sheriff has to say about the pay discrepancy between his deputies and other agencies in the area. The starting pay for officers in Hempstead County is less than most departments nearby, and it's now causing issues with retaining staff. KTBS 3's Julie Parr explains the developing concerns.
Sheriff James Singleton says that the starting pay for deputies is significantly lower than other neighboring agencies, and because of that, he's losing good officers to other departments.
And here comes the interesting part, because cops like to think that we, the consumer public, are just stupid. But this press conference about how his cops don't make enough money was done shortly after the viral video released of an 81-year-old man being harassed and abused by one of his deputies. So now we see, instead of taking responsibility and accountability for the behavior of that cop and what happened, now he's poising himself to defend and say, well, guys, it's not my fault. We're just not paying our deputies enough money. So I'm losing the good deputies and I'm forced to hire the bad deputies. The deputies and jailers that abuse 78 and 81-year-old indefensible men. Maybe this is idiocracy, but I feel like the solution is simple. If you're losing the good cops because you can't pay enough, you are now not forced to hire bad cops. You don't have to hire police officers that you know are going to do a bad job. You can simply contact state police, neighboring counties, and you can ask for assistance. So that way their officers can split up. You can pay them to come in part-time and do the job until you find a viable hiring and staffing solution. Why isn't the sheriff exploring that option? Because really, at the end of the day, it's a power grab. He wants to maintain that power. He wants to maintain the voting public's respect because it's not about you, the public safety. It's about him holding on to that position as long as he can. Let's hear the BS roll off his lips.
They can walk out of this office, walk right across the hall and go to work for the City of Hope and make more make about $7,000-8,000 more a year.
The Hempstead County Sheriff's Office recently lost a 14-year veteran and an 8-year veteran to agencies that paid more money. Singleton says the cost of training a new officer is expensive, and losing them due to better pay elsewhere is more substantial than the initial training expenses. The starting pay for a Hempstead County deputy is $41,000. Meanwhile, there are smaller agencies in the area that offer a starting pay of $50,000. Singleton recently addressed the staffing shortages at the Hempstead County Quorum Court meeting.
So if you don't ask, you won't know. So I decided to put that out there and give them some information on the other class 3 counties throughout the state, and hopefully they will come up with some type of resolution. But I do understand the way county finances work, that may not be possible.
Sheriff Singleton says that competitive pay has also impacted the detention center. He's lost about 8 or 9 jailers since the beginning of the year. Reporting in Hope, Arkansas, Julie Parr, KTBS 3 News.
But thankfully, there's a solution being proposed in the way of a new ordinance to deal with these bad cops.
The Hempstead County Quorum Court is also considering a proposed ordinance that would strengthen laws regarding vicious or dangerous dogs. The Sheriff's Office has received more than 30 calls for service concerning vicious dogs since January.
I really want to apologize for that. That was inappropriate. I didn't mean to offend any actual dogs by comparing them to these cops. Let's jump into the original video and news coverage of this terrible incident that happened in Hempstead, Arkansas. And it should be noted that ultimately this deputy was fired. And the 81-year-old man did not go to jail. But they weren't willing to back down that much in defense of this 80-year-old man. Backup made sure that he left with several criminal charges.
The Sheriff's Office in Hempstead County, Arkansas fires an officer following concerns over his conduct on a traffic stop.
Body camera footage captures Officer Jason Johnson stop a 81-year-old man for speeding last month. We want to warn you, this video may be disturbing to watch, and KTBS 3's Julie Parr has that story.
Deputy Johnson, Hempstead County Sheriff's Office.
Hey,
Next time, just pull over.
right in the middle of the road.
I don't give a where you pull over at, tell you the truth.
In July, Deputy Johnson pulls over 81-year-old Olin Lane. Mr. Lane's very old, and he doesn't know that on a one-lane road you can just pull over in the middle of the street. So he drove just a bit further until he found a safe spot to stop his vehicle. At this point, he's approached by Deputy Johnson, who starts cussing at him. Ultimately, Mr. Lane received a warning for speeding, but got a citation for his seatbelt. Thinking the traffic stop was over, seeing that the deputy returned to his vehicle, Mr. Lane decides to leave. And that became the beginning of his worst nightmare.
Just honestly, if I sound aggressive, yes, I'm a little perturbed because you could have pulled over at any time.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So now the officer's writing out the ticket when he notices Mr. Lane drive away.
What are you doing? Do not move that vehicle again!
For those of you that support police and have a grandfather, check this out.
Give me the keys.
What did I do now?
Give me the keys.
What in the world did I do?
Why did you take off from that stop?
I stopped.
Why did you take off from this stop?
Well,
You better give me a good reason right now.
I don't know.
Step out the vehicle.
Here's why this cop is an absolute nightmare, liability, and danger to the community. He lacks the very basics in investigatory skills. It does not take a trained police officer or really a trained professional anything to look at this guy and notice that he's having an episode. He's an older person. He doesn't really understand what's happening. And what happened to the good old days where you just treated the elderly with respect? Seriously though, if you're normally not a fan of my videos, forget the police hating or the police loving. Put all your personal viewpoints aside and just watch how this cop is treating an 81-year-old man. Should he be driving? I concede. Probably not. And what's the excuse for this type of behavior? The sheriff says it's because he can't pay this man enough. So if this guy got $3 or $4 more an hour, he won't go out abusing 81-year-old people. Good to know that he has control over that. Maybe abusing the elderly community is his bargaining chip to try and get a couple extra bucks. At least we know and we've agreed that this behavior didn't have to happen. The sheriff could have asked outside agencies to help with this problem, but he really only concerns about staying in power. That's all he concerns himself with. So the elderly community is just going to have to deal with this type of behavior because Sheriff Singleton really wants that gold star in his boobie.
This time he placed Lane in handcuffs.
Retarded. Let go of your hand.
He then walked him to the patrol car where he pushed him into the back seat.
Step up in there. Retarded.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Put your legs in. You done earned your trip to jail.
Decency and respect. Not only is Mr. Lane an 81-year-old man with some dementia issues, he's also a proud veteran of our armed forces. I feel like he's paid enough dues throughout the course of his life, being a veteran and a father and a grandfather, that he's earned at least a very basic modicum of respect. I'd like to share a story with you, a personal one. It actually sheds police in a positive light. When I was 15 years old, my grandmother, who had just started with Alzheimer's, went on a 3-minute trip to the grocery store. 8 hours later, she was found by a state trooper in New Hampshire on the side of the road. She was lost. She didn't know what had happened or how she had gotten there. She also didn't know how much time had passed. Could that state trooper have given my grandmother a ticket? Of course. Did he? No. He treated her with respect. He treated her with decency. He made sure that she was presentable. He took her to get something to eat and to go to the bathroom. And he made sure that she was kept company until one of us was able to go get her. And just for a second, I had a lump in my throat because I'm taken aback at the realization that, thank God it wasn't this cop that had pulled up behind my grandmother. And I hope that you folks at home never have to deal with, dementia and all the things and nightmares that it entails. But if you do, I pray to God that you never have the Deputy Johnson pull up behind your loved one.
Deputy Johnson called for backup.
Do you have mental issues? Or you have dementia? I need to know right now.
No.
Then why did you leave this traffic stop right back here?
I guess I just don't know the daggone law.
Apparently not.
When other officers arrived on the scene, they began to question Lane.
I was trying to understand your thinking why you took off.
That's when they learned he experienced a stroke 5 years ago and had memory issues. The officers made the decision to uncuff Lane and call his daughter.
A little bit better?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not made for comfort.
Now, see.
The officers also noticed that the 81-year-old was unsteady and stumbling. One of the officers requested that he get checked out by an ambulance.
You seem a little disoriented and stuff. So I'd like for you to at least get checked out. Make sure you're not having a mini stroke or something, okay? Especially if you have a history of having strokes.
That right there is the exact moment I wanted to jump through the screen and shake hands and hug every single one of these cops. I am so angry and I hate Deputy Johnson so much that I'm willing to overlook my distrust for police because they're doing their job. And that's the thing where we can't get it twisted, right? These cops are not the guardian angels. They're not the saving graces of this story. They didn't do anything wonderful. They simply did their job. But we're so conditioned to police being so bad that when they simply do the status quo, their job, we glorify it and think it's some heroic act. But they're not as heroic as you think. This guy might not go to jail, but he's certainly not going home empty-handed.
Lane was cited for not wearing a seatbelt and fleeing, but he did not go to the Hempstead County Detention Center. Meanwhile, Deputy Johnson was later terminated from his position by Sheriff James Singleton.
A statement from the Hempstead County Sheriff's Office reads in part that Deputy Johnson violated multiple departmental policies and ethical standards expected of a sworn law enforcement officer.
I wonder what those standards are. You got jailers being investigated by the State Bureau of Investigation for the death of a 78-year-old man. You have deputies running wild on the elderly community, abusing and snatching 81-year-old veterans and grandfathers off the street. And Sheriff Singleton seems fine in Hempstead County with all of this happening, because instead of giving some ground and admitting that he needs help and having outside agencies assist him with law enforcement of his community, he'd much rather hold on to power and hire bad cops that aren't worth the time or the badge and send them out into the community to abuse your grandparents. So Hempstead County, I say to you this. Do you have a grandparent? Do you have a grandmother? A grandfather? Someone who used to bounce you on their knee? Someone who used to call you dollface or handsome? Someone that you revere? An icon? A superhero of your earliest times of childhood that you can remember? Do you still love calling that person and sitting down and hearing the stories of a time before ours that was a better and a more pure place? I had one of those before. I don't now. If you do and you live in Hempstead County, keep them in the house. Make sure they don't get into their car, because you never know. If they see the blue lights flashing behind them and the decal on the side of the cruiser says Hempstead County, you may never see them again. Until next time, that's the reason I stopped you today.